Hi everyone and karibuni sana to our webinar this evening. It's always great to see everyone joining in and joining in on time. A huge welcome to everyone who's tuning in from LinkedIn. I see a couple of people there. Those who are watching from YouTube and also those who are following along on Twitter. Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this conversation. Also, as always, a special shout out to our Elevate HR community members for always joining in our webinars. I can see a couple of you joining in. So thank you so much for being a part of this as well. If you're interacting with Elevate HR Africa for the first time, allow me to quickly introduce who we are to you. Elevate HR is a cloud-based platform for the African market that lets you easily onboard and manage your employees' payroll, leave, and performance. We also have a community of HR professionals whose main goal is professional development and networking for its members. So if you're a people professional and you're not part of our community, please consider joining us. The link to sign up and to joining us will be posted on the chat section. So without further ado, I will introduce our panelists for the evening who are going to be engaging us in this very needed conversation on how innovation like payroll software can transform your business operations. So please remember to drop your comments or questions on the comment section, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, we'll get them. And then we'll be having a Q&A session after the main panel discussion. So we'll be looking out for your questions. Please remember to drop them as we continue. So over to our panelists. I am so excited because we couldn't have picked a better panel to handle this discussion this evening. I'll start with Lina Ombasi, who is a seasoned HR professional, passionate about data and recruitment and payroll as well. So I'd love to have her on board. She's going to be engaging us and leading the conversation. Hi, Lina. How are you? So you're muted.
Thank
yes,
you.
There you go.
Hi,
Thank you so
Pili.
much for being here. I'm very well. Are you excited about this conversation?
I am so excited about the conversation, especially the topic, chaos to control. Who doesn't love to have a level of control? So I'm really excited to be here.
What are you most excited? What are you looking forward to the most?
I think it's just hearing from Christine, listening to her journey through, HR and payroll and the different experiences she's had. I'd really like to hear about, compliance. What are the issues about compliance and payroll? We think about payroll as pushing, buttons here and there, adding zeros here and there. But what is really in the meat of payroll? And what can payroll help us do? What decisions can payroll help us inform? So I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be great. I think I look forward to picking her mind about that.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to also hearing your thoughts on the same. All right, so we've talked about Christine. We'd love to introduce her officially and allow her to the set. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Pili.
So excited to have you here. Christine, I know you're a payroll expert. I'd really love to know what you're really looking forward to when it comes to this conversation this evening.
One, thank you for having me and good evening. I'm looking forward to sharing out how I felt coming from chaos to control and why I feel it is key and very important for each and every organization, however small, medium, or global, they need to have a good payroll management software system.
Wow, thank you so much. I am so excited. I can't wait to glean from your wisdom. I know you've been in the payroll game for years now, so I know we'll get into that in just a bit. So at this point, Lina, I'd like to hand over the conversation to you to guide us, and we'll come back a little later on to handle the Q&A. So over to you, Lina.
Thank you, Pili. Thank you so much. Really excited to be here with you, my colleague, Christine. And Christine, we're just going to have a bit of a conversation about payroll. And our topic today, as we said, is from chaos to control. And just as I said, there's nobody who doesn't like to have a bit of sense of control. I think it gives us a level of consistency as well as a level of comfort. So just, Christine, as we begin the conversation, I want to hear from you. If you can tell us about your HR journey, how it's been, and specifically in line with payroll, have you always on a software? Have you always used a software? Did you begin with manual payroll? What did your journey in HR and specifically in payroll look like?
Okay. To answer your first section of the question, yes, like 50% of my first experience, 50 was purely using a software, and the other 50 we were doing some tasks and portfolios under payroll manually. So I saw the transition from having so much of paperwork to less paper, a lot of time being consumed while in the office, especially when you have to update your data, to now having less time in the office and actually working from home. So basically, I'm coming from a point where I've dealt with the manual, and now I'm feeling where we have an automated system software.
Okay, and you've talked about, having the data there real time and just transitioning. And I think, let me make my question a bit more specific now, is what are some of the challenges and complexities you've experienced when you've had, a manual payroll system as opposed to using a software?
The key one I would start with, and a challenge, and it's a challenge and a complexity at the same time, is the confidentiality. Confidentiality and privacy. Payroll is that section in an organization. I'm calling it a section because it's hard to define it, that it's fully a HR department or a finance department. Payroll is more of an integratory task within an organization where you're dealing with finance, you're dealing with HR, you're dealing with law, you're dealing with audit and compliance. And the information that you're dealing with is very, very sensitive. Most of it is in regards to remuneration to employees, and that is information that should be handled with a lot of confidentiality. So that is a challenge that is key, and it should be at the back of your mind every time you're dealing with payroll. So that is one of the main challenges and complexity in the management of the payroll in an organization. Another challenge, I would say, it's compliance. And by compliance is doing what is required by the law, following the policies in an organization, and also to avoid legislation issues. For example, since COVID started, I think in regards to Employment Act, more so on pay, we've seen changes like 2 or 3 times. So how are you keeping up by being compliant with these issues that are coming up and the current trends in the country and the global at large? Another challenge and complexity task that is key in the payroll management is maintaining the records. The records, for an example, when you hired an employee, say they were 23 years old, they did not have a family, their marital status was single. Now they have a family, you've added on to their benefits. How do you keep on recording, keeping the records and the updates that they are getting, and also updating new employees in your register, which is now the software, the details, where do you keep the details and the files of the employees? Um, Another challenge that is key and with a lot of weight is maintaining minimal or no errors. An error in payroll is quite significant. Imagine paying an employee who is entitled to around maybe 50,000, and then you key in a wrong digit like zero. So you're going to pay this employee 500,000. That is quite a significant consequence. So that is a key thing that you really need to take note of. You maintain minimal or no errors at all, because an error that is done in the management has very serious consequences. So those are the 4 main things I would pinpoint as that can give you a challenge when you're dealing with the payroll management. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christine. I mean, you just talked about record keeping, and someone is in the company from the time they join, by the time they're living in retirement, and maybe we have not tracked even how you've transitioned through the organization. So I can understand that, as well as compliance. It's very interesting, and I think we'll go into that a bit more. And you've just talked about something to do with record keeping and accuracy, and I wanted us to dive just a bit more into that, and just tell us how does the payroll management impact, the efficiency and the accuracy of operations, especially on the business side?
Before I answer it in regards to record keeping, let me clarify that payroll is that section in an organization that meets the first need or desire that attracted the employee to the organization, and that is remuneration. So if you don't meet the remuneration, which is what retained or attracted an employee, you're going to affect their performance, their satisfaction, their motivation, and their desire to continue working for this organization with a lot of weight. So that is one way of ensuring that the business operations are running well and they're efficient. You meet the agreement that you had with this employee when you engage them in terms of remuneration and also the benefits. There are benefits that we call them non-cash benefits. An example could be motor vehicle benefit, airtime, mobile data packages. So such things are what attracted you, an employee, to your organization. And they are key in interfering with their operations and their day-to-day activities while they're performing their tasks. So I would say that is one way in which payroll management can affect the business operations. Another issue is paying the employees on time. And like I said earlier, minimizing the errors, ensuring there are no errors. When you pay them on time, they'll keep on working, they'll come on time, their motivation will be boosted. Another issue with regards to payroll management is how you automate several tasks in the software such that an employee, especially this is for organizations that are spread out within a country or a region. If it's a software, some tasks such as leave management, attendance, monitoring their hours, especially if they're paid on an hourly rate. If you have an automated system, they'll just at the comfort of their office or their location, they'll be able to key in their clock in time, their leave, their request for allowances, maybe overtime, if they worked overtime. They'll have them updated on time and in real time, and thus being paid within the month that they maybe worked over their usual hours of time. Another impact on business operations is it's helpful in keeping track and more retrieval, which is very key when it comes to doing business functions that are quite strategic, as budgeting and monitoring staff cost expenditure in an organization. So that is the key impact of payroll management when it comes to business operations. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christine. And something I've just picked up from you is you said payroll meets the first desire or the first need of an employee. And I think that's something that we all need to take into consideration when we speak about payroll. And the other thing you've talked about is that payroll is not just about the money in the salary. It's also about the other non-cash benefits, the other things that also affect payroll, like leave. You talked about the non-cash benefits like, motor vehicle insurance. And thank you for that. And just our listeners and our watchers, as you are there, I want to remind you to drop a comment or any question if you have any, and we'll be taking your questions later on. So you feel free to put in your questions, to put in your comments, or any clarifications you might want from Christine as we go on. And Christine, just as we go on, you talked about an error, with payroll in regarding to adding a zero. If someone is on 50,000, suddenly, we process 500,000, and that could be a very big error. And what are other errors or other issues or other risks that could be associated with, processing payroll manually?
Okay. I chose to classify them in two sections. One being compliance with the governance of the country, that's the statutories and the required deductions, and the other one is for the employees, that is directly affecting them. Let me start with the employees. For instance, you key in a wrong account number for an employee in the system. So when it comes to remitting these funds, just one digit, only one digit, the salary will be transferred to a wrong account. And once that money is gone into that account, having it to trace it back and being recalled and getting your, like the reversal of that transaction, that is a process and it might not happen. So that is a very specific and it's a unique error that happens in payroll. And this is where we say that payroll, you also have to have an eye like a finance person. You have to really be keen with the numbers. Just don't key in the numbers and the digits. You also have to understand the code of the bank branches. Don't just assume that this code has no effect. It has an effect when you're transmitting the salaries to the employees, especially because the bank transfer document that you're using, it's coded, it's secured. So there's a way the bank will interpret that code. So it's something that you cannot opt to leave it out or put it wrongly. That's a very significant thing when you are doing payroll, especially when it comes to remittance. Another error that could happen that affects an employee directly is the error of commission or omission. The example that I gave, an employee is entitled to 50,000, you key in 500,000. Or they're entitled to 500,000, you key in 5,000. It has an impact whichever way you look at it. Another error that could affect an employee is calculation. If you calculate their overtime, the formula that you've keyed in your system, the formula that you've keyed in, say overtime, when an employee reporting date is 5th, this employee, they should not be paid from 1st to 4th. Their start month is from 5th. So how accurate is your system? How accurate is your payroll process in ensuring that if maybe this month was for 30 days, the employee is actually paid for the 25 days and not for the full 30? The other classification in regards to the laws and legislation is being up to date with the tax rates. An example, when we had COVID, tax bans in Kenya were revised, and the personal relief amount was revised also. Imagine if you are not at par with that, and the employees, they have seen it in the news and the newspaper, and you are not at par. What impact do you think it will have to your employees and to your organization? It will be all over the news that you have overpaid or underpaid your employees. In regards to the laws, when it comes to remittance of the statutories, if you calculate them wrongly, if you tag the wrong number of the specific bodies, an example, NSSF, if the number that you've keyed in for an employee is wrong, how will you ensure that NSSF, they update the records of that employee? Remember this thing, you're only doing a remittance of a bulk list. Say maybe you have 200, 1,000, 50 or 20 employees. That's a bulk. It's not one-on-one entry in the system. So how do you expect NSSF to be counter-checking if you've keyed in the correct number? No. So it's something that it's quite, you have to have a keen eye and ensure that the details there as per the document, the statutory documents and the various bodies that govern the rule of land. So those are the key errors that have quite an impact both to the organization and the employee. And to add on, to add on, especially in regards to the laws, the legislation, the penalties that you would incur are very high. Penalty for failing to remit on time or doing the wrong deduction, you'll be penalized as an organization. That is a cost to the organization, which should not be incurred at all.
All right, thank you, Christine. That was very thorough. I like how you've classified them into, the errors that affect the business and the errors that affect the staff and those that affect both. I think those are very key. And just to deep dive a bit now into the organization, the pain points that are experienced by the business when they rely on a manual payroll system. What could this be? I know some could have already been highlighted in your previous point, but if you could just go a bit deeper into that.
Okay, I'll start with what I've not mentioned, then maybe repeat in different wording what I've mentioned. And pain point that I felt, especially when we're doing some tasks manually, is in regards to duplication of tasks. An example I would give, after you've done your payroll and you've done your calculation and your process, there's something that we call journals. Journals is where this information, because it's purely on the system, but it has to be filed into the books of the company as a staff cost. So how do you transit this information from your system to the finance system. That is through a journal. So if it is not automated, you'll have to do it manually. Imagine you have like I don't know how many employees, and you have to tag in their NSSF amount each employee, and then you give finance for them to raise the payment and remit to the various bodies. So, and another thing, if payroll management is manual, it means the register in this case, I mean the personnel file of an employee, is maintained in another system with the HR department. So you'll be getting information from HR. You put it in your Excel or in your manual paperwork that you're doing. You combine, then you translate it into figures for finance to interpret. There's a lot of duplication of tasks. However, if it's an automated system, it can be married, especially with the HR. The register can be married with your software, such that when a new employee is keyed in, you don't have to get the details of the particular employee into your system of payroll and start processing. They'll just be linked, and you'll only be seeing the information as they're keying it in from the other end of HR. So that is one pinpoint. A lot of duplication, and duplication of tasks gives me another point, which is paperwork and poor record keeping. Record keeping could mean accessibility. It takes time to access the information, and data could be lost. With manual payroll management, having a backup is quite a challenge. So data will be lost. An organization that has existed for, say, 15 years or 20 years, how do you go back retrieving the data for then? You want to see how you've grown with the staff cost. How do you get that data? So that is a main point to having a manual payroll management other than an automated one. The examples that I talked about earlier in regards to compliance, where you're keeping at par with the changes in the government policies, the Employment Act, calculation of salaries, overtime, bonuses and commissions, they are pegged on percentage of performance of the employees. So how do you calculate, how do you link the performance and the salary of an employee, then you get the bonus and commission in a manual payroll management? It's quite tedious. Yes, you could have the formulas on Excel and you could link them, but it's quite tedious, other than, unlike how when you have it on a software. To add on to my first point of duplication of tasks, I would say the administrative bit in tasks in payroll, if done manually, they can be overwhelming. Overwhelming such that you find you in a repetitive cycle. Every month you have to check. The same. However, when you have it in the system, a system can give you a report that is checking last month, that is the month of April versus May. This is the variance. Software can give you that. But now when you don't have that, you'll be checking it manually, which can be quite overwhelming. And honestly speaking, it can demotivate a payroll officer or clerk or payroll manager.
All right. Thank you so much, Christine, for that response. I mean, really in depth. You've talked about, especially the duplication of tasks. You've talked about, having this margin of errors because of maybe linking so many Excel pages, or even just doing it manually on Excel and it being very tedious. And that actually takes me to our next question. HR is moving into being a strategic partner to the business, and that would entail being strategic in our work, not having duplication of roles or having issues with error. So even as HR is moving into being a strategic business partner to the organization, how does a manual HR limit human resources from being a strategic partner? What from your observation, how does this limit us from being a strategic partner?
The limitation I would give, I'll start it from the point of tracking the staff cost, which tracking helps you understand where you are, the data that you have, you analyze it and plan for it. That is budget. So a manual payroll management system, honestly speaking, budgeting and tracking of, imagine an example, you want to see quarter 2 of year 2023 versus quarter 2 of year 2022. How do you get that from a manual system? It will be quite a lot, but it's something you want to see. And with the changes in the world, the global effect within that period, how have you transitioned? What are you doing? And also marry even with other organizations. If you do not have an automated software, payroll management software, benchmarking can be quite tedious, doing benchmarking and survey, see if you are at par. And this will help you in making decisions in regards to how do we boost in the morale of our employees? How do we reduce the turnaround time of tasks in the payroll that will reduce the time taken while handling payroll, and maybe this employee could be tasked with doing something else which will have an impact into the overall performance of the organization. So basically, the key thing is that an automated payroll management would do is save you time. Time saves money, and money boosts, saving time and money to boost employees, because you are going to get returns in terms of bonuses and commission and salary review. I don't know if maybe I've answered your question fully, or you want me to expand further.
I know, I think you've given us a very concise answer, just in terms of saving time, having accurate data, among all the other reasons you've given us. And just as I segue into the next question is, I think I'd like us to shift focus a bit and just look at the employees, because those are the people we do serve, and those are the people, the reason why we are in the organization as HR, and just to see how the manual payroll management system affects the employees in terms of their satisfaction and in terms of their morale. What would you have to say about that?
An example I would give is, back then people used to be given, they used to be printed for payslips. And then you're being mailed to, and you're supposed to keep records, I don't know, in your house. And maybe you've worked for this organization for 10 years. So those are how many payslips if you do the calculation. So yes, so having an automated payroll, an employee can log in, they can have their, is it a self-service link, where they'll be able to see their payslips. Say last year, what was I being paid? What they can even track the deductions that we call, not statutory, we call them personal checkoffs. Maybe they have bank loans, so they want to trace, the bank is telling them, oh, this month you didn't pay us this amount that you were deducted. An employee can easily log into the self-service portal, check the payslip, and then they'll be able to track their deductions. Another thing, it's the linkage, like I said. If you're spread out in the country of Kenya, say you have an employee in Mombasa and your head office is here in Nairobi, they don't need to be sent for their leave statements, their payslips, their P9. Like right now, we're about to file our returns. We're supposed to have filed our returns by 30th of June. You just email them. You email, or you give them an access to the self-service portal. An employee will log in with their credentials, they access their P9, and they're able to file their returns on time. So I think the automation gives them a touch of what is happening in regards to their remuneration, and that directly boosts the morale and the motivation of an employee. Another thing, that if you automate your payroll and you're at par with what is happening, another, I've seen it happening in the payroll section, is the advisory. Like right now, we've had the finance bill being mentioned. From my end, I've already started having a discussion with our employees, like, hey, you know this is going to hit you. What do you think you need to change in your payslip if you fully committed your payslip? So there's also an advisory role that payroll can play, and it will communicate to the employees, and they'll feel attached. They'll feel attached of the, in regards to their remuneration and what they should be at par with. So yeah, to minimize the turnover, I would say.
All right, thank you so much. And I think that also speaks to what we said about chaos to control. I think it also gives the employees a sense of control when you said, they don't need to always go to someone to get their pay slips. Their pay slips are in the employee self-service portal. You said we give them a sense of having or knowing what's going on inside the organization. So I think that's really important, and it just speaks to what we were talking about, for them to have some level of control. And just a last question for you. Right now data is king. We say data is what is informing our decisions. So how do you think the information that's pulled from payroll can help organizations in decision making?
An information can help the organization with strategic decisions. An example I'll give from what I am personally doing, we can give info on the years of service that you've had with our task force, or the employees that we have that are how many years they have to retirement. This will help in planning, succession planning, and also coming up with the benefits that attract a particular age group, a particular section of your task force. So the data that you have in your payroll, you can choose to interpret. Personally, from what I'm doing now, checking the attendance, the clock-in time, the years of service, like what is our retention rate, how long do we keep our employees, how high is our turnover. If the turnover is so high, what are we doing? What is it us? Is it the employees? What are we lacking? What is attracting them out there and not having them retained here? Another thing is the cost. It ensures there is equity. If you wish to promote equity through your grading system, you can be able to see if this particular, when you do an analysis, if this particular employee, they're in the same grade, how come there's a variance in their pay? How come you're not marrying the benefits of the employees? So basically, that is what I have to say in regards to the business support.
So much for that. I know that we can talk so much about data and what it can do for us, but I know we are limited with time. I do love how you said, years in service, you want to show the longevity of your staff, or you want to show trends in turnover, or even go specifically into departments and say, in this department we have better retention, in this department we have people leaving, or this is the data we want to pull in terms of gender parity, and just show management in terms of the decisions that we want to make regarding staff, or even regarding their leave, regarding other records and other information that we can get from payroll. So just from you, what I'm really learning is payroll is not, it's about the numbers, yes, about paying salaries, but it's much more than that. It is employee satisfaction. It is having data to make decisions. It is being a strategic partner to the business and enabling such decisions within the organization. So it's really interesting to learn all these things from you. And just as I segue, I'd like to invite Kefa, who will just take us through the Elevate HR system, and he'll be able to take us through what it does, what it can do for our businesses, how it can enable us to make smarter decisions, minimize errors, ensure employee satisfaction, and be better as usual at what we do. Thank you, Kefa. Over to you.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you very much. I was also enjoying some of the conversations, and some of the HR people you see here, the ones that have helped us really gain the insights and continually building and improving the payroll module that we have that is currently serving some of our customers, and also continually being improved as the laws and regulations keep changing, so that all the manual processes now become more automated. I'll do just a quick demo on just how easy it is to automate. Once you have all your employees and transition to an automated system, how easy it is to run software within minutes. And then, if you need a more deep down, or if you need us to work with you to continually develop in regards to how your organization mirrors this, we can have this. So I'll move towards one of the organizations. For example, I'm under Elevate, and this using some pre-filled data and dummy data. Payroll is generated every other month automatically. As you can see on the month of May, we first begin by seeing all the review steps that take place. And the very first step of any payroll is preparation of that payroll and really nailing down, seeing your employee records, which department they belong to. We can have different mechanisms on how to filter in regards you just want to deal with employees in a very certain department. And you can see the system on every other month auto computes everything. So you don't have to you don't have to go do something manually, and probably that will cause some errors. You can see all the taxed benefits, you can see all the non-taxed benefit, how we arrive at the gross pay, the total deductions, and the eventual net pay. If you want to dig deeper into how we arrived at some of the earnings, you're able to see based on how KRA reflects them and how they're taxed based on that. Based on all the total earnings, how we arrive from the basic salaries to the total earnings. You can view based on how the employee is based. You can view how we deduct them based on the different statutory deductions, any other deductions, and you can even have a complete view of like the different deductions this employee has been entitled to. And we automate, we continually, as we learn more as what the government needs, we automate that in the system. For example, we have provisions for pensions and how pensions is done. We have a provision for insurances and how insurances is done, and we're continually updating with more complex as to how complex the payroll continually gets. We continually update that through the system. The next step is approval. As you mentioned, you might need another view in regards to approving. So you see just you can compare with the last 30, 60, 90 days to see how different things have changed and just to have a second eye. And once you approve, these are the different actions. You can put someone on approve. You can decide to put someone under review. And what all this means is they won't proceed to the consequences, like on the next steps, whereby it's only the approved members that get to be paid. So once you're comfortable with approved people, you can say I've approved 78%. We now proceed to payments. And for payments, what we've done is we provide a base for all. For the bank CSV that you'll handle through the bank. But once you provide us with the bank within the system, we're able to capture that in regards to the different banks templates that are needed. The last step towards this is pay slips. As one of our panels mentioned before, you had to manually do this, but at a click of a button, you can bulk download or bulk send to all the approved employees. And actually you can see in detail who you're sending to, each different payslip. And if, for example, if this employee, we see everything is correct, you can send them, or you can decide to preview a payslip before you even send it to see if everything is according to how you want it in regards to deductions before tax, for example, this NSSF, all the taxations that apply in this payroll, and then all the different deductions, and how you finally arrived at the net pay. So, and we've allowed for downloads for the cases where some employees don't have don't have access to their emails. And with that, you've completed your payroll cycle, and all you need now is remitting, and all employees will be paid on time. For much more details and features, we can have a one-on-one in regards to demo, and also adding more features as to what your organization is based on. Thank you. Over back to you, Lina.
Thank you so much, Kefa, for that demo. I really like how it is such an easy user experience, very easy to read, very easy to go through, not complicated at all. I'm just going to take some comments and some questions from our viewers. I think I'll start with a comment. Newton Kariki says, nice one, helpful indeed. We have HR Hacks who says, I can relate to the repetitiveness nature of manual payroll when any key member is not alert when conducting the checks. You can have grave errors. I think I'll just now go into a question. We have a question from Christine Jaggi, and the question says, and I think this question may be for Christine. Please tell us the latest updates in regards to taxation compliance and other changes in compliance to the statutes. I'll just repeat the question. Please tell us the latest updates in regards to taxation compliances and other changes in compliance to the statutes.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you, Christine, for that question. I'll start off with what has already taken effect, and it's going to affect employees and organizations for the next 5 years. That is the NSSF. The NSSF, we saw it taking effect this year, where they revised the band and the amount of contribution. The lowest band being 6,000, that is 360 Tier 1 and 720 Tier 2, being the highest band of 18,000. So due to time, I'll not list down the bands for the 5 years, but just to let you know, maybe we will share going forward an illustration of how the bands have changed. But for the next 5 years, every year we're going to have a change in the amount of NSSF that you're deducting an employee, and at the same time, the employer is matching that figure. That is one. What is to take effect if it's passed in the bill? It's the tax band. The tax band for the pay, it was expanded, whereby currently the highest band, it's being deducted 30% of the amount. That has been reversed to 35% for employees who are being paid 600,000 per month and above. The other change that will affect our employees directly is the National Housing Insurance Fund, that is the NHIF. Currently, it's at an amount that is as per a particular grouping of salary. An example, employees between 30 to 40,000, they're paying around 950. So now that has changed. The highest amount currently is 1,700. That has changed, and we are going to see an effect on the pay slips where an employee will be charged a flat rate of 2.7% of their basic. So you have to take note that every time you do a review as an employer to your employee, say you do a 6% increase in their salary, and HIF will increase by 2.7% if this is passed. So that is one, and then number three. The last one is the housing fund, which is a hot discussion in the country. Yes, so the good thing with housing, it's capped. So both the employer and the employee, you are only going to contribute up to 5,000. That is capped. It's not like an HIF, which is not capped. Do the math for an HIF. An employee who is being paid 300,000, 2.7% of that is 8,000. So that one is not capped. It's as per the figure. But for the housing, it's up to 5,000, both the employer and the employee, meaning each it will be 2,500 maximum every month. But if you do not, if your salary is not up to, that is around 80,000. If it's not, it will be equivalent to 3% of your basic. So basically, those are the key things that changed. What I can mention that changed, it used to be there, but how we're going to be remitting it has changed. It's in regards to NITA, the Industrial Training Levy Fund. Previously, we used to have a listing of all the employees, their ID and their KRA PIN numbers on the P10, uploaded on the P10, where you file them under the KRA portal. They have changed that. So right now, you don't need to have a list. You just need to key in the number By that I mean, if you have 100 employees on the pit and you just key in 100 and calculates 50 bob per employee. So you no longer be required to have a listing. They noticed that having a listing, it means your employees ought to have the PIN number. So, for example, like here in Saseni, we have casuals. Casuals, we engage them maybe once or twice in a week. That will not need the PIN number of this employee because you're not going to pay there for them. You're not going to have any figure to disclose on the P10. So they realized they are leaving out quite a number of employees out. So they dropped that. You really need to take caution, especially this month. It started last month. The P10 was changed end of last month. So this month, while you're doing your pay on the P10, you'll notice that that sheet is not there for NITA. It's only a section on the last column of the P10 for the tax calculation, where you just key in the number and calculates the figure. So those are the changes that have happened so far, and you need to be at par with them.
Right. Thank you, Christine. You are super knowledgeable. It's all at your fingertips. And I'd just like to encourage our viewers to keep dropping your comments and questions. We'll continue taking them shortly. Just another comment I have here from Valentine Daniel. She's saying, very informative. I also have a comment from Brian Mushiri saying, this is very informative. It's amazing how many errors an automatic payroll eliminates and how simplified the process gets. Indeed, it's just as you said, it's very amazing to see that. Another question I have here is, what would you recommend for those who are doing errors several times? What would you recommend for those who are doing errors several times? Christine, I think, or Kefa, I'm not sure who this will go to. But I will pick, yes.
Maybe I can ask, it's Simon Frank.
Yes.
Several times the same error. Are you learning from what you're doing, or are you encouraging mistakes? Because if it's something that you can pinpoint, then why let it happen? If it's an error that is different each and every time, then maybe it's how you're communicating within the organization or the HR or the finance department that handles payroll. However, if it's the same error, that I would call it an oversight, and it's something that you can get a solution to. Reach out to us, reach out to Kefa, to me, to Lina, and we'll assist you maybe with the specific errors that you're getting. Or maybe you have an issue with tolerating an employee who's doing the same error. I don't know how to interpret your question, but maybe you can reach out to us and we'll assist you even after, beyond this session.
And also, I could mention in regards to having several layers of approval before probably a payment goes out. And yeah, and that's why also some of the systems, and they're very cheap actually, such as us, just having another layer of approval whereby before something goes to payment, it's looked upon by also someone else. That helps a lot in regards to that. Yeah, but you can reach out. There are many experts within our community. You can reach us, and we can direct you to the right one.
Right. Thank you for Kefa for that. And just as Christine said, Simon Frank, please reach out to us. You can reach out to Kefa. There is a link, I believe, on the screen that you can reach out to Elevate HR to get a demo, or for us to just more deeply understand your question. I have a question from Roberto Omondi Odhiambo. He says, in the HR domain, payroll is never part of the curriculum. How does one equip or develop solid technical capabilities to enable them, I believe he means a team of HR professionals, to handle payroll management? I'll ask the question again. In HR domain, payroll is never part of the curriculum. How does one equip or develop solid technical capabilities to enable them handle payroll management?
Okay, good question. And probably we'll also cue in Christine later on how she learned all the complex payroll stuff. But all I can say in regards, I also come from a technical background whereby when developing this, we had to familiarize ourselves with the payroll structure. A majority of is captured through the KRA portal. Number one, majority of the information, they've really outlined in detail how different taxes are done for different things. And I think the bare minimum is if you really understand the new bands, the bands of pay, you can now proceed to understanding how very other stuff such as cashed benefits and uncashed benefits, how they all affect the pay, all the way to things such as pensions, and then following up on new regulations as they get released, and also learning from other HR experts. And also in regards to again using a system as your best friend because some of these things they internalized inside the system, so you become an expert while using it as well to see how different aspects are done. Yeah, and from onwards, I'll also love to hear from Christine as well. She's been one of our teachers.
Maybe I would answer Roberto by using my experience. It's true, there is no direct curriculum in regards to payroll. However, like I said, it touches on finance, it touches on HR, touches on audit, because payroll is a section that is highly audited. From my experience, I have a background in accounting. I'm a CPAK finalist. I've also been trained on HR. I have a higher diploma in HR management and the experience, I would say, and experts as well. So it's where out of all that knowledge that you've learned from finance, from HR, they have to marry. They have to marry, and then you learn while you're doing the job. And there are some values that you ought to learn or have them as an individual, more so on confidentiality and privacy. There's no way you'll be taught on how to be confidential and to maintain privacy. So that's a value that you have to learn, to have a very keen eye and don't assume. It is a section where you can't assume. You can't assume a faint document that has digits and you just assume and you go on. You need to see it clearly and to understand. So what I would say is yes, there's no curriculum. However, it's integrated with HR and finance as well as law. You also need to understand the labor laws. You have to read, engage consultants, learn from them and from your mentors and predecessing experts in the field. That's how you get to know how to do payroll and to learn on it.
Thank you very much, Christine. And we are always learning, we live to learn. Anne Beatrice is saying listening in. Thank you, Anne, for listening in. I'm only going to take one more question, and that question is from Joanne Makana. But I'll encourage us to keep on putting in our questions in the comments. The Elevate HR team will continue. We will continue to reach out and answer your questions and queries that you have. I've seen questions from Eugene Karaoke just around the platform and how it works. What are the subscription fees for the system? And we'll be able to answer this on one-on-one. So we can reach out to you. You can request for a demo. You can take our contacts that are on the screen below, and we'll be able to reach out to you. And some of the contacts have also been put in the comments. The last question I'm taking is from Joanne Makana. And she asks, which metrics do you use when it comes to benefits in order to promote equity? And I believe this question is before Christine. I'll ask it again. Which metrics do you use when it comes to benefits in order to promote equity?
From my work experience or from what we are doing currently, we are following our policy and the grading structure, which when it was being structured, it ensured there's a lot of equity. So for now, I may not give you a direct answer on the metric that we are working with, but it's something that we can research on and will provide as we go on. However, from what I am doing now is the structure that we're having that promotes equity within the organization. And you also need to understand what equity is it. What equity do you want to achieve? So it narrows down to an organization and it's a bit specific.
All right. I'll just encourage John. I hope we've answered your question, but you can always put in the comment section if you want us to delve a bit deeper later on. I'd like to thank everyone for watching us, for indulging. I think I'll hand it over to Pili just to take over for the next section. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda, Christine, and Kefa for indulging us and just engaging us in that very insightful conversation. We're reading the comments and we're just seeing many people agreeing that they indeed have gotten to get to learn a few things here and there. So thank you so much for taking the time. Again, I'd love to say, if you're looking for a system to manage your payroll, leave, and performance, do consider us. Link to sign up is on the chat section, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So you can find the link to try out our system. It starts from as low as 150 shillings per employee. So clearly, there's really no reason why you shouldn't allow innovation to elevate your business operation. So thank you so much for tuning in. Lastly, I'd just like to call back Lina and Christine just for a parting shot, and then we will close it out. Lina, your parting shot to our listeners with regards to innovation.
Gosh, a bit speechless, but in regards to innovation, there's always room to learn. There's always room to make something better. There's always room to improve. The principle of Kaizen. So I just think innovation comes with that. It comes with wanting better, wanting excellence. And my parting shot for us as HR is, let's want that excellence. Let's want to always improve. Let's not settle for status quo.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, Christine, 30 seconds, one fine parting shot to the people who are watching.
Like Lina, that was a bit, yeah, you got me there. However, my parting shot would be, you're not limited. And it's not now, it's what you want to achieve tomorrow and the day after. So what you have now, don't limit yourself with it now. Things are changing. Now we're having AI. AI could could be doing the metrics for us. So do not limit yourself. Always learn. Be open-minded and quite dynamic, because it is changing, especially with the global mobility. COVID really taught us that. So that is my parting shot. Do not limit yourself. I know that every day is a learning. Even here, I've learned, I've taught myself again. So do not limit yourself.
Wow, thank you so much for that parting shot and for the insightful session that we've just had. I'd like to cue in and add that talks a little bit about also what we do. Again, if you're looking for a payroll software, Elevate HR is the plug. Otherwise, I've seen Emmanuel say that there should be more forums like this. Please consider joining our community of HR professionals. If you're a people professional, we have many opportunities and events like this, webinars like this planned out for you. So do join us so that you can get updated on every event. So we'll end there, but before you go, please watch this.